What is going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us for another special interview for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Tonight's special guest needs no introduction, but he's going to get one anyway. Superstar artist extraordinaire has done millions, I will say millions, of covers for so many publishers out there. Let's welcome Mr. John Giang, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yay!
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And along with the panel, we have the beautifully haired K-pop junkie down there, and
Hi.
we have our boy NammaN joining us as well for the panel. Thank you guys so much for fix the
He
hair.
also has the lovely hair. Yeah, he also has the lovely hair. We
He's
can't
got
forget
the
now.
salt and pepper thing going over there. I love it, dude. Look at that. John, how you
We are
been?
putting a few of the bountiful hair folks with the hair challenged.
Yeah,
As the eye.
no, dude,
Correct,
you got yourself.
yes.
I like it, John. This is gorgeous. Right? Luscious. Hey, look at that. Hair game is on 10 out of 10. I love it. John, how you been, bro? It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. It's a little bit weird, to be honest, seeing you, Eman, without your C-list villains cohorts and things like that. But I'm sure we will make do. I'm sure we'll get by just fine without them, even though they will be missed. But
They are missed, but
yeah.
you also know that the shenanigans is going to be brought down from a 10 to about like a 2. The rest of that is all red. You know that he's going to come through and he just destroy the stream. You know how he goes.
Well, he did. He's already here. He said, "Ask."
Oh, there it
Eman."
is.
Oh,
There it
There
is.
it
Never
is.
mind.
there it is. Yeah.
Damn it, he's in the chat. He's watching.
Red is like AI. He just gets prompted very easily and stuff like
Very-
that. So
Oh my god. You give him an inch and he goes 10 yards. That guy.
that is true.
Oh,
That's
well,
true.
Yeah.
and even by saying that, he'll take that somewhere beyond. Man, John, you have been a busy individual. It seems like every week you're dropping 28 covers for like 97 publishers. I don't know how the math works like that, but it works like that. It's insane. Like, how do you find time, bro?
Hashtag oversaturation, right? So
It's nuts. I mean, you just talked about. We just saw your Wolverine, and we saw a couple of Transformers. Well, we can't talk about tell us about the Transformers one, there, John.
yeah, I've got a pretty good stretch going on right now with the Transformers covers for Big Time Collectibles, and they've been super fun. Of course, as children of the '80s, as most of us are. Maybe a few of us being a bit younger and things like that, but Transformers is it's an ongoing property that's super hot, and it's kind of cool to kind of reinterpret them as I would love to see them and their G1 forms and all stuff, but a little bit of a modern take. And obviously, just did started off with a Starscream, did the Optimus Prime, the Soundwave, and then there was a little bit of a sneak peek of another one coming up, but yeah, there you go. The Optimus Prime, but it's nice because the new Skybound stuff is definitely taking off. So it's been super fun.
Have you been reading it by any chance, or are you just kind of just breezing through them?
I've been reading it a little bit. My schedule doesn't permit too much time to read stuff or consume any other things in life other than doing work. But I've been reading a little bit, and it's fantastic. It is really. I think. It's taken it to new places, but still kind of like all the sort of pillars of the original G1 stuff, which is always, I think, a good starting point for my work too, is always to just take it to new places, new aesthetics, but still kind of have a reverence for the original stuff.
Let me squeeze this one out right here. This is something that I would like to know for myself. Yeah, I know we're going to ask a lot of other questions, but this is me totally fanboying.
Sure.
If there was one Transformer you can do, right? Because I'm sure they're like, oh, we got to keep it with the main ones, and I get it. But if there's one Transformer that you'd like to do a cover for, other than one that you haven't done yet, who would it be?
Ooh, that'd be tough. I always, and this is probably the anti-Transformer thing to say, but and these were like super unpopular because they were the ones that like you pulled back and then you let go, and then they like flipped up and they transformed into the robot form and stuff like that. I can't even remember their names, but I really loved those growing up, and they're just like these weird, unusual looking vehicle forms, and I like and again, it was just like a stretch to be turned into a robot, right? But I love those. So if I could probably do one of those, I'd probably do it. Like I'd be the only one buying that cover, to be honest. So
those were funny because you pulled them back, you let them go, they would move, and then they would hop, and they were like folded in half, right? And they would hop, and then they would, I'm here.
Like it would be great if you like. It'd be great whenever you pull them back, and it would stick the landing. Do you know what I mean? Like that's always like the cool aspect of that. And to me, like there's some degree of like still playing with and transforming them to yourselves and all stuff. Like I'm really not down for like those new like. And again, this is just a personal thing. If you have it, or this is nothing against Robosun and all that stuff, but like the self-transforming Optimus Prime and Megatron, like that kind of is like anti-Transformers in my opinion. But hey, that's just my opinion.
Whoa. Iron Man attacked you, man. I'll kick him in the balls for you.
This is the shoddy set decoration that's going on here.
It looks fabulous. It looks fabulous.
Iron Man trying to attack the Transformer figure.
Yes.
That's what's happening. Eman is secretly behind you, knocking down everything that's not Transformers. This is what's happening.
This right here, this is a green screen. We're not in my garage. I'm literally outside John's window right now, knocking shit over.
Unprompted, he's outside my door. All stuff said.
I believe it. Yeah.
Be like that Mervin's commercial. Open. John, with it being Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we definitely want to touch a little bit on your heritage. We definitely want to know a little bit more about your background as being one of the premier Asian artists out in the world. I mean, you're up there with Alan Kwa and Stan or Art Germ. Like you're up there, bro. So, what does Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month mean to you as an artist in this world?
First, very humbled, but still honored to be mentioned among those guys, but definitely nowhere near, their skill level. But again, thank you. So I guess my background is I am Chinese, but I was born in Vietnam, and then we immigrated here when I was quite young to the United States. And I always kind of say, like, when we first kind of like landed here in the United States, we actually landed in Los Angeles, and my dad had, I guess, the opportunity to either go to like stay in the LA, California area, or go to Michigan, which was a weird sort of choice, I guess. But I guess he chose Michigan, so that's where we ended up. So I'm a bit of a Midwestern boy at heart and everything like that. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, when we talk about the pride of being, Asian and in America and all of those things, it's really like when we talk about America, like I don't get me wrong, I think everyone has their experiences, especially as an Asian in America. But I think that, there's a different kind of Asian in California and these sorts of places than like in Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different kind of America that we're experiencing here. And, and that's what's great though. It's as we all kind of like to say, it's the sort of all-encompassing melting pot and all the various experiences, the wide variety of all of that kind of builds up and makes us, the great country that we are and stuff like that. So, I grew up in the Midwest. I went to school a little bit more east in Pennsylvania. And then I soon after went back to live in Michigan for a couple years. But I've been now living in California for about 25-ish years now. So, but again, it was one of those things where it's like, growing up in the Midwest, it was kind of like, I felt quite, how do I say, unique, I would say. And you could kind of spot me in a crowd, and then like I come out to California and it's like, I'm just like everyone else, and that sort of thing. So, and good, and all that comes with it, all the positives and the negatives. But super fun.
Now, could you speak, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Vietnamese?
I am okay. So, for all those that are out there, I am truly the worst Asian. So basically, I speak a different dialect in my household. I speak a very like every dialect other than like Cantonese and Mandarin is known as the village dialect because we're all very like not too many of us feel like we speak it and that sort of thing and so we spoke a different dialect in the house, but my parents actually speak Cantonese and Mandarin. They also speak Vietnamese quite well. And then English and that sort of thing. But I speak English fine. Some would say not so great sometimes. And I speak a little bit of the dialect that we speak at home, but not much. Just enough to do a lot of damage and so of that. So, and I understand a bit of Cantonese, less Mandarin, to be completely honest.
So if you go to China, you'll be able to make it through. Like, where's the bathroom? Let me order this.
I would like to think so. I did go back to China one time for a vacation, and it was a lot of like passing around like notes that the hotel concierge would leave for us and stuff like that.
NammaN, you have any questions for John?
You say you grew up in Midwest?
Yeah.
So is it Michigan part of Midwest? I'm just wondering.
What,
Sometimes
Michigan?
we consider it, yes.
Huh?
Yeah. It's part of the Eastern time zone, but I think it's still considered kind of like the Ohio, Midwest, Indiana sort of area and that sort of thing. But yeah, weirdly enough, the reason why we landed there is because a lot of the churches in that sort of area were kind of like helping the sort of like Vietnamese refugee sort of situation and things like that. And a big part of it is because Gerald R. Ford is from Grand Rapids, which he encouraged a lot of the churches to do so. And he was the president at the time that I came over and that sort of thing, which is kind of starting.
I came
What's
over.
that?
That's about the same time I came over. I grew up in Oklahoma, so I
Okay.
thought that was a Midwest, but
that is very Midwest.
You grew up in Oklahoma?
There's levels to this, and that is the next level of Midwest right there.
Okay. Okay, that's why I could take that Michigan trying to take the Midwest.
We don't necessarily consider ourselves Midwest. We get lumped into the Midwest somehow. I think we're more South Canadian than anything.
Yeah, it's weird because we actually have we have very close geographical ties to Canada and things like that too. A little bit of East Coasters, so we're kind of like and then because we're the Great Lakes, we're kind of like more of a destination city rather than a pass through sort of state, rather than a destination state. So yeah.
So the Kansas, anything above Nebraska is not Midwest because we all pass through and we have to sort of stick together,
Strength in numbers for sure.
That central part of the U.S. is just like a whole different country to me, anyway. So like past like Colorado and then just before the Mississippi, like that's all weird stuff to me. I think it's a different country over there. I'm telling you.
Well, I think this brings up a really excellent point because growing up Asian in Michigan, it was always kind of like one of those things where it's like I always kind of say it was kind of like I'm like the mid man, right? The mid boy and all that stuff, because you don't really I'm not really Asian where I can feel like and I don't speak the language all that great. I can definitely eat the food and stuff like that, but but I'm not truly like Asian and super like ingrained in that community, but I'm also not like obviously like a lot of the folks I grew up with, which were quote unquote white American Midwesterns and that sort of thing. So it was kind of, all over the place. And I guess that's kind of the same thing with maybe Michigan too. It's just kind of like all over the place. We're kind of in between and some of that, which is, I think great because a lot of different experiences kind of just converge.
Yep.
We have a huge melting pot of cultures here in Michigan because we got the border, and then a lot of people for whatever reason. Because when my family came over, they came over from Italy, and then some stopped in like Toronto area, and then the rest came to Detroit. So I don't know why they ended up doing that, but that's what they did when they came here.
I think I don't know if it's still the case, but I think speaking of Asians and also too, I think Detroit has like the largest Middle Eastern community outside of the Middle East, so like that. So yeah.
Katie, you have any questions for our guest?
I was just hold on. Let me ask because I know we're limited on time, so I give you crap all the time. It's messenger, so I want to highlight some of the questions.
Is that you? Is that you?
That is me. That is me. I believe I gave you lots of crap this year because you have the most abs and toe covers of the year, and I did give you Tootsie Cover of the Year award for 2024.
Oh, I love it.
I did give that, but I want to highlight some of the questions here because I know we are super limited.
Sure.
Joe, what's it like being the leader of a gang?
Hashtag
First of all, I was appointed. I'm like a figurehead. I have no power at all. So
Okay. You're like the Don that's up top that like just walks around. Everybody knows he's the boss, but doesn't do all the stuff.
I eat a lot of pasta, but I definitely don't know how to make it. So yeah.
Queen of
not know how to make
UK.
pasta?
Queen of UK.
boiled 6 to 8 minutes. Why is that so hard? That's
It's the same direction as ramen. Like
I
you
was
just-
gonna say, it's just like ramen, just a little bit longer. Come on,
Yeah.
John.
El dente, I have no idea how to do that. So
you just feel the firmness. Basically.
Man, thank God Red isn't here because he would just take
oh my
all
God,
of that
he's
right
Listen,
there.
all over that one.
That would be a 4-hour stream if we would keep going with all this stuff, but I know we don't have time for that. But so you're going to be coming up to Heroes Con, and we have a massive gallery of our YouTube friends
Cool.
that are going to be going to Heroes. Like Dur's here, who is so freaking excited to be meeting you in a few weeks at Heroes Con, and he can't wait. As well, Vogs is going to be going. He says he wants to get some stuff signed from you
I'll be
at
there.
Heroes
I'll be
Con.
there.
You were
Does
going to be
every
there.
rose transpired?
No, please tell us.
So I had actually been to Heroes before because I used to only do sort of like art prints and things like that. But, I actually obviously as like, recently and all the cover work that I've done and things like that, like, I guess my sort of like presence and business model has kind of changed and things like that. And I did okay that year that I went to Heroes. Not great, but I did fine. So I didn't really think about going back really ever. But anyways, I posted my my first quarter sort of like con schedule, and everyone was like, "What the heck? Why aren't you going to Heroes?" And also because Heroes is, obviously such a concentration of like working professionals in the comic book industry and things like that. So and artists and that sort of thing. And so I was like, well, I've been thinking about going back, but what do you guys think? And everyone's like, yes, you should go. And I was like, well, tag me and tag the show and let's see what happens and all that stuff. And then like within like minutes, I'd gotten a message from Heroes and like, so I hear they were like, we're supposed to like invite you to the show and all that stuff. So proof in fan power for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
You definitely have a huge following, my friend.
We're gonna have at least over 50 YouTubers just from within the community that I know. 50 YouTubers on Heroes Con.
Okay.
So everybody's gonna be going out there, camera going, "It's the John Giang right there."
It'll be one of those things where it's like, I'm going to go underneath the table for something, and all of a sudden one of you guys are going to be down there and all that stuff. So,
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's most likely gonna be Red, and I have a feeling he's not even gonna be going to this thing.
I'm trying to get ready for
I'll say that
2025. I can't go this year, but 2025, crossing my fingers. And
Yeah, 25 is what I'm trying to do as well.
Eman, have you been to the show?
Never. That's on the East Coast, man. I don't business over there.
Oh, snap!
I know that us West Coasters are like a little bit weary about kind of going that far east and all stuff. But I gotta say, like, not trying to be whatever, but like the East Coast sort of like comic book fervor is like it's intense out there for sure.
I'll believe it.
Yeah.
I definitely want to go next year. Go there a couple of days early, check out their food because I know they have a really big barbecue community out there. I definitely want to check out their food and then just do the whole foodie tour over there too.
Does Carolina have a barbecue scene? I could, again, I don't mean to sound ignorant here, but do they have a big barbecue scene?
Yeah, they have like their own.
Yeah.
The Carolinas have like their own saucy way of doing it.
Isn't it like the vinegar based?
Vinegar, it's more sauce rather than like a dry rub.
Okay,
I really want to go check out their barbecue scene over there for sure.
nice.
Sticking with food, man. This is on the subject of food. You said that you were noodles and food. Best home cooked meal, man. Like what do you eat when you need to calm down? Like
The best home cooked meal for me is probably my mom's like egg noodles and dumplings and things
Ooh.
and sauce, like her noodle soup, basically, with a little bit of like the roast duck and stuff like that. So very very well known, but you know it's subtle and all that stuff. You know, it's it to have done right.
That sounds delicious, man. All
Uh,
right, that's it. I'm coming
Are we
home.
all are we all
so
hungry?
I'm
we're
coming
all
home.
hungry, and apparently, since you do like pasta, Cliff says that you could be his boss and he'll happily make you pasta. Oh my, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Lo mein originated from Italy, Rez says. I don't know. You can't take that anything he says. It's not Italy.
Well, he's already saying douche barbecue. Just so you know.
But
So
as E-Man knows, my diet has kind of changed a little bit. I was
a lot of
pretty vegetarian for quite a while and things like that. But having a hard time sourcing protein as a plant eater and things like that. So I have to refine that process before I decide to go back on that.
yeah, see, look, Red's asking how your journey back to being a carnivore is, man.
Surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, quite easy.
So you brought up mom, and here in the States, we kind of know that, or if you don't know, a lot of Asian parents are quite conservative, and they have like, all right, my child is going to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, one of those three, you know.
Sure.
And I know I grew up with that in my head, you know. Filipino families is like, hey, you need to be one of these three, you know. It
Sure.
didn't end up like that.
Yeah.
Did that happen to you too? Were you in that pool of you need to choose these three and be successful? And if not, then how did the family take that you wanted to be an artist for the rest of your life?
So what you're saying is, how did they take the disappointment of me becoming
I
an
didn't want to
artist
say
and
that
things like
word.
that?
I was not trying to say that word whatsoever.
And you know, I know you guys have spent the whole month celebrating, you know, Asian Pacific Islander month, and you guys are probably getting this sort of like similar story. And I don't know if my story is any really all that different. But as an Asian, and I think also because of the fact that my parents were also boat people, so they, you know, took great risk to get here. It wasn't one of those things where they just kind of flew over here and things like that. It was, you know, on a 20-foot rickety wooden boat, you know, trying to get through waters that were like, you know, when we say pirates, you know, people on the ocean, open ocean and things like that. And that sort of dangerous sort of environment, you know, surviving all that, then going to, you know, various refugee camps and things like that, and trying to survive that and not having a lot of like food and things like that. You know, I guess the story is that there was a couple times when I had almost like died on the way here and stuff like that. Yeah.
No,
Of
terrible.
not having any, you know, because of starvation and malnutrition and things like that. They did their best, but it was a rough sort of journey to kind of escape that sort of country that, you know, they didn't really agree with and that sort of thing. And then, so my point is that there was a lot of sacrifices and a lot of, you know, just sort of concern about, you know, what my future would be like, you know. But you know, I think ultimately too, and they wanted all those things too, like a very secure sort of life for me, as again, as we all know, you know, obviously they think, you know, doctor, lawyer, engineer, all of those things are going to provide the life that it would. And again, I think financially and all those things that would. But also too, I think they also realized that coming here, it was to provide me the opportunity to choose, right? The opportunity to make a decision for myself and that sort of thing. They didn't always understand it. They didn't always agree with it, but they never put any sort of like limitations on me and not allowed it. And I think at a certain point they were just like, he loves it. He's doing it all the time. You know, he's gonna go for it and things like that. You know, and that was when I was younger. And I think there was also a point where they were like, he's gonna outgrow it too. Like he's gonna wise up. And he's not gonna want to do this anymore. But and I just kept going further and further down that sort of like rabbit hole, and then I started, and I just started to go to art school, and I think that was when, like, my dad especially was like, oh geez, like you're actually like serious about this. And I was like, look at Todd McFarlane, he makes like $100 a page and all stuff. I'll be fine.
$100 a page. What? Yeah. Nice.
And so yeah, and then finally I went to art school, and I did the whole like graphic design sort of gig and everything that I've told the story many times, but then I finally went to Industrial Light and Magic, and they and I worked on movies like The Avengers and Pacific Rim and Star Wars movies and all those things, and they still didn't quite understand what all that stuff meant. They just were not huge movie folks when I was growing up. I don't know how I became like a fan of all that stuff, but they weren't really. And then I started doing comics and things like that, and they still, again, probably it's probably still an abstraction to them as to what I actually do. But funny story the other day, and I tell this story a lot, but they came out to California, and I was walking down the street and somebody noticed me, and now they're like, oh, like you're legit, you're somebody.
He needed one of the John Giang to actually confirm his holiness out there.
I totally paid that person off to do that.
What you need to do is share this link. Just say, see all these people going, John Giang here.
So yeah, they totally got it when they've realized you were the leader of the gang and ruling all of comics. They're like, yes, we got it. Our son there.
That is definitely not me, but thank you.
So how did the parents take that you're the head of the gang? That's the right?
Yeah.
Well, of course, my mom's like, don't be a part of a gang. That's dangerous and everything like that. So,
sorry, mom.
Oh,
sorry, he's not a part of a gang. He is, mom.
Yes, true. Yes, behind the scenes, not doing any violence. Yes.
Katie, do we have any questions from the chat?
We have a lot more of the questions in the chat. Vox has very eagerly been waiting to get the answer to this. So he wants to know, who is your favorite comic book hero and villain? It could be from Marvel, DC, Image, or another company.
Ooh. So I've said it before. Because of nostalgia and all those things, and my memories of being a child, I loved Superman because of the Christopher Reeve movies and that sort of thing. But I always this may be kind of like framing my age quite a bit, and I really don't like that. But I also grew up with like the old Spider-Man live action TV show, all those, remember where he's like kind of like gliding on the wall because he's just being like pulled up by a rope and that sort of thing. And, his Spider-Man eyes had like holes punched into it so that he could, the actor could see through and, that sort of thing. So I love like Superman, Spider-Man, probably my favorite. And then villain wise, I would probably have to say
Red. Red's your favorite villain. It's all about Red.
That checks out. That checks out. Apparently gave you cookies that gave you diarrhea. So yeah, he's definitely up there.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Were you excited about that Spider-Man from, was it Electric Company? One of those little kids
Electric Company. Yeah, that was awesome. Dude, Electric Company ruled.
They had a Spider-Man, the live action. That was like first live action Spider-Man that, to me. Anyway.
I don't know if we're talking about something, but I don't remember seeing that one. The Electric Company.
It's a kids show, like a Sesame Street.
Okay.
And there's this one guy that he always goes and crawl the walls and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Like he's actually crawling the floor.
I swear, I thought you were going to say like the Japanese live action Spider-Man. That one's amazing.
That one's also fun too. I think we all grew up on the Wonder Womans and the Hulk shows as well. Like it was just childhood.
Oh my god.
Okay. Okay. I guess I aged myself just now.
Listen, all of us are 40 plus. That's all right. We're all good.
John's like 18, man. Like those
I wish.
I'm only twice his age. He's 18. I'm only 36.
We are totally bringing up the whole because it is Asian month. The whole Asian genes, man. It's like. We're good until we hit that wall. We're 18 until we hit that wall, and then we're like wise old sages.
What happens?
You're like 18 up until you're about like whatever age, and then automatically just old granny / grandpa mode. It's just,
There's no
works.
transition. It's
No.
just like it's
so
immediate.
scared of that time, to be honest with you. I'm so scared. We cut you off, John. I'm so sorry. Favorite villain, sir?
Favorite villain, I would probably have to say Dark Seed, because to be honest, he was always like watching like the Justice League like cartoon and like the Legion of Doom cartoon. He just never showed up a lot, but he was always like the big baddie that everyone was like super fearful of. So yeah,
the one hiding in the shadows.
Yeah.
So is there a character that you haven't done yet that you would love to draw?
A ton.
And get paid for. Yeah,
super paid for. Yes.
I mean, he can draw anything he wants whenever he wants, but
paid for. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I've done a Spawn cover before, but Todd has yet to put that out. When I'm still hopeful that one of these days it will, and I'd love to get more Spawn covers in and that sort of thing. And Silver Surfer is another character I'd love to do maybe at some point in time. And
that would be some fire coming from you, because that would look really great with your art style.
Yeah. There's actually a lot. Every time I've been super blessed and lucky enough that whenever I do a character for the first time, I kind of feel like I say that a lot and I don't mean to kind of like wear out that sort of like idea and novelty, but it is really like I owe a lot to you guys and the publishers and things like that, because I can't do it without the support of you guys, all the fans and everyone out there. And to be able to be in a position blessed enough to kind of like work on these characters, like it is literally a nerd boy's dream come true. And I'm so grateful for it.
Any other questions, Katie, from the chat?
Oh, we have a ton. So also, Ivor Joe here popped in saying Morgan Freeman was a regular on the Electric Company show on PBS. Yes, he was.
Nice.
They also have those in comic book form as well, which are really cool.
Nice.
Those up. Yeah. So 23 has a question because he's an aspiring artist himself, and he wants to know: do you do digital art more than traditional?
So earlier on, I was doing, because a lot of my stuff is oftentimes a mix of traditional and digital. But lately, with the sort of like all my sort of like big traveling schedules and things like that, I have to kind of work a lot on the road, and it doesn't provide so much of an opportunity to kind of work in traditional so much because of drying times and all those things. But I still try, but mostly it's digital these days, I would say.
Very nice. Yeah, you have a really nice style, because we got into that when we were at Motor City. We got into your process, which I thought was fascinating, and I like how you were explaining how you did the traditional, then move it to the digital. That's fun for me, because I love hearing about chats.
I think that's always the best sort of like to kind of flip back and forth between the two kind of yields the best results. It's just one of those things where it's like, now it's becoming a bit of and I have like one cover right after another, one piece right after another. Like it just is so quick now these days that I just have to kind of like find logistically the best sort of methods to kind of get them done without losing a lot of like quality and artistry and all those things.
Sure. If you ever have some free time, which I hardly doubt you will do because you're so in demand, would you ever want to do a book covers and interiors? Just get something out there.
I would love to. I honestly would. I get asked that question a lot. But I would have to find, again, that sort of like I would have to find a style that because I think my covers generally are quite like high render, intensely rendered sort of style. And I would have to find a style that was in the interior that matched it, but still was kind of like not gonna like kill me to do. We've talked about the whole like certain artists just disappearing forever because they decided to do interiors, and I don't want to disappear. So
Yeah, I highly doubt you're going to be disappearing for a long time because, as you can see, the dudes love you in the chat. They are super, super team
I love
over
it.
here.
I'm very
Uh,
lucky.
yes. So Tate actually has another art question. This is really cool. What was the catalyst for jumping into your style that you have now, which is kind of like the 3D effect type thing? Where did it come from? He loves your style. It's very unique.
It's always it's. I think I've said it before. Like, and I think this goes back to the whole like, you know, being Asian Pacific Islander month too, and various other um, cultures and you know nationalities, ethnicities, all those things that kind of make up what is so great about America is because just like with many things, I absorbed so much as a kid. Like again, cinema with like um, uh, the Superman movies, all the sort of the Batman movie, you know, the growing up and that sort of thing. So I loved movies, I loved animation, and I loved street art, and I loved you know I loved Renaissance art. I loved traditional historical art history sort of stuff too. So all that stuff kind of amalgamates into my style, right? Where I'm trying to create like these sort of like high rendered sort of like forms, but I really love the sort of like graphic design and sort of cut out shapes of like bright coloring and all those things too. So I try to throw it all together and hopefully it comes out with something that's cool at the end of the day.
You brought up art history right there. Who are some of the artists from the past that you take a lot of influence from? Especially if they're outside of the comic realm.
So I used to like love a lot of the American illustrators. Like the few that kind of stand out to me are like Sargent and like Leyendecker and that sort of thing. Obviously like Norman Rockwell too, kind of like helping, the way that he tells the story through his images and that sort of thing. But again, all of that stuff too was such a great way to kind of visualize different styles and in different ways and kind of like toss that all together and that sort of stuff.
If you could sit down with any one of those artists, and have a conversation about art, who would it be?
It would probably be Leyendecker. Just because his style is again just what I was saying too. There's just these sort of like really graphic, strong shapes and compositions, but there's also like parts in the compositions that are very like rendered and very like voluminous and that sort of thing. And they're not these sort of like cut out sort of shapes, and it's just great stuff. And as well as like filmmakers and architects and all those things. I went to school not too far away from Falling Water, the Frank Lloyd Wright, very famous
Ooh,
house.
yeah.
And yeah, and just that sort of stuff. It's all very it just feeds my aesthetic. So I'm getting very artsy here.
No, we could get full on artsy because we did this at Motor City. We were got full into art and this is having busy there. But one of my favorite things is Alphonse Mucha. So when people like do an homage to him, I have to go and grab any of those covers that I see. And I love to see when people do anything that homages like the old style of art into a comic book. And that is so refreshing and fun because it's also educating the people now about the art of the past. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And he was one of those that, again, because I learned graphic design, his framework around his figures and all that stuff was very graphic design. Even his drapery was very graphic design.
Yeah.
His hair was very graphic design. His hair, rendering, as well as
hair.
Yes, there you go. We bring it back to hair.
We did. Yeah.
That was the plan from the start.
Katie's campaigning for best hair for the CBC Awards.
What? That's you. You're campaigning for this. I'm just giving you crap every single time you bring it up. So,
John, your style, of course, is well known. Everyone knows it, and everyone sees it, and they know that's a John Giang piece. Oh, this is a fine John Giang piece right here. However, the one that stands out of all of your pieces has to be that Usagi Yojimbo that you did a few years back.
Yeah.
Are we going to see any more of that? Because a lot of and I'll say it like this: a lot of your fans truly enjoyed that. It was refreshing to see. So, will we see any more of that in the future?
Yeah, I think as I'm kind of like doing a lot of these covers, and that sort of thing, you can kind of like I like to think like I do have a style. I think I have an overarching style. I think, but then I also think maybe I don't. So I'm quite surprised whenever people are like, well, you can always kind of tell when John does a piece. So, but I'm always trying to I always try to do different things every so often and that sort of thing. So if it's not necessarily the watercolor style of the Usagi or Jimbo, I'm definitely going to try different things and try to blend them in and amalgamate them even more. And maybe one certain style, like as you guys see or saw, the sort of like negative space sort of style, we're probably seeing hopefully some more of that, as well as the more like high rendered style of the Wolverine um and that sort of thing too. So I think also too maybe this is kind of part and parcel with what a lot of artists say and stuff like that. But you know, it's true. It's you're trying to get a vibe of the character or the story or whatever you're trying to convey in that character in that on that cover, and then I think that allows it to maybe determine a bit of a style, because I don't want to just do a style for style's sake. Just like the Yosagi or Jimbo, I felt like the Sumi E style felt like it fit the character quite well. You know what I mean? So
And it was
I think,
fantastic. It was absolutely
yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic.
I think you did
yeah.
such a great homage to Sakai in that. It was so lovely seeing that.
Scariest cover I've ever done for sure. And and you say it was a nice homage to Stan to his style, but I really it was nerve wracking because it wasn't what I had shown them originally that I was gonna do, and it was 0 hour on that cover, and as well as much as I loved kind of like honoring what Stan has done, I really felt like it wasn't representative of Stan's style either, which is okay, right? But I didn't want to I didn't want it to be offensive to anybody, right? In terms of like, or kind of like so different that it didn't feel. I didn't want. I was my fear is that though he had the right to, if he was to say like this doesn't fit anything that we've done, it would have broken my heart. But I would have understood too at the same time. So, and it was so different from anything I'd done that I wasn't quite sure if people were gonna dig it, to be honest. But
Oh, killed that! It was so
Everyone
good.
loved it. Yeah,
It
everyone
was
loved
so
it.
good. Yeah.
Sticking with your art style, your coloring also is what gives all the vibrance to your art. To can tell us a little bit about the coloring. Like where did all of that come from? I know you have your pencil style, but then your coloring style also makes your art.
I don't know if a lot of people know, and I tell people that want to know at conventions and things like that um, for the longest time I didn't do any color. Like for the longest time I only did like line art, and I'll be honest, like every time I would like do like I would do like hyper tight sort of like pencils and inks, and I was a pretty good inker of my own work and things like that. But then when I went to color it, it would be a straight up train wreck every single time. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm never gonna get a handle on this and that sort of thing. And weirdly enough, I went to art school and I was pretty much like acing like every class, composition, rendering, life drawing, all those things. But when it came to color theory, that was the one class I got a B in, and I was just like, like I just wasn't able to get a handle on it.
You got a B in class,
A
In
John.
B.
in art
Ooh,
school.
John telling your
John,
mom.
John, you're Asian, not Bayesian. What's
Yes,
going
I
on
know.
here? What? Oh,
That's the Asian in me coming out for sure. Um, but I just started coloring my stuff more and more, and it started to kind of like finally start to turn certain some corners. And then and then I was also like handing stuff off to other folks, and it wasn't quite turning out to be like my vision and that sort of thing. But yeah, ultimately I just kept doing it, and I guess I got a little better at it, and I guess it's become a bit of my trademark. I think now these days.
We only have about 15 minutes with John here. NammaN, do you have any questions for him?
No, I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the Heroes Con.
Yeah,
That's
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys too.
yeah. There's gonna be tons and tons of people. There's gonna be. I just want to give you a little heads up on there's C3 event going on. It's called Comic Curing Cancer.
Yeah,
We organize that. The whole community of the people is going over there to celebrate that, and then we're gonna, and I'm sure a lot of people from that group is gonna come and see you.
that's awesome.
It's hopefully, yeah, it would be a great event because I'm gonna guess about 100 YouTubers gonna go over there.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was like
there's
50
gonna
to
be a
60,
lot.
I think, last year. So
Like,
this year, I think
legit.
they're going to top that big time. And
Legit.
half the guys in the chat are actually going to go to Hero, so they're definitely going to be hitting you up. But
I mean,
And
they're
the other
all
half
here
are on the West
because
Coast.
they're all here because they're excited to come to your table right now. So
They they like I said, the sort of strong like comic community and everything like that that seems to be like, I always kind of say like there's very recently the Lake Como show that happened in Italy.
yes.
It's like the Heroes show in Charlotte is like our like Lake Como without the beautiful lake and everything like that. But you know what I mean? Like the comic community is like they turn out in force for that show for sure, and all the creators that show up too. And the fact that it's such a grassroots show as it started, and it still is, to some degree. Like it's a really intense sort of like, I think, celebration of the community and things like that. So it's gonna be fun. I'm happy to be back.
Nice.
Red keeps asking, and I'm just gonna ask because otherwise he's not gonna stop. We know you're a basketball fan. Mavs
Oh,
or Timberwolves tonight? Mavs or Timberwolves?
I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it because a lot of my friends are Mavs fans.
Person that pays you is a Mavs fan too. So. We're not bringing up Nelson from Big Time Collectibles or anything, but
I just don't want to jinx it for him and all that stuff.
give us an NDA face. Give us an NDA face.
I totally like, and I don't want to jinx it, but I did totally think like the Timberwolves had the series. Not that I was rooting for them, but they were so young and also. But I think they're sort of like inexperience is kind of showing through, and their ability to kind of like moderate their energy, I would say, through the entirety of the playoffs, and I think it's starting to show, as well as I would say some suspect coaching. But hey, that's just my layman's observation.
10 more minutes with John, you guys. Let's go ahead and ask some more questions from the chat. Katie, what do we have?
yeah, that's
I want to ask this because this is from Otaku, because Otaku is normally our co-host and he's not here at the moment. And he wanted to know, which Asian creators do you look up to in the industry?
Of course. So I was actually able to give a tour of Lucasfilm to Will's Portaccio, which is like, you want to talk about a surreal day? Like that was like a surreal day. Like not only was it Will's, it was with his family and all that stuff too. And I was just like, one of my heroes has always been Will's, right? And to be able to kind of like give him a tour, and he was so gracious and humble and all those things. He really set that sort of like standard as to not just how to be like an artist and a creator, but just a good, genuine human being too. So that he's one of those that I admire. Obviously, Jim Lee, And back in the day, like he also worked with an artist, Eman, you may know of him, like Nick Manabat, and how he worked on the first
Yeah.
Cybernary and stuff like that. Such a like, I felt like when we talk about different styles and all that stuff, he really started to bring a different style. And at the same time, it was like that was when like digital coloring sort of became prevalent, and he was embracing all of that in his style, and it was next level.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Will Portacio doing something with John Giang's coloring?
Oh my goodness.
Dude, that would be insane. That would be
I
fantastic.
I am still like, if that, like, there's we talk about first and that sort of thing, like someday if I could work with some of these creators and that sort of thing, like it would be like the bucket list of things to do would be pretty short at that point. So
Exactly. Any more questions, Katie?
There's still a ton in chat. I'm not gonna ask all of them because there's just so many of them. But this is a quick one that you could probably ask. This is the first time he's actually typed something in our chat. So, do you have a favorite Saturday morning cartoon theme song?
Theme song.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know that's a hard one.
I don't know if it's Saturday morning cartoon. Well, the one I actually liked watching Saturday mornings was Thundar. That was a good one.
Nice. Okay.
I only got that Saturdays. And then and another theme song that stuck out in my mind. I don't know why I'm on the whole Hanna-Barbera kick, but it wasn't so much Saturday morning. But remember the Great Grape Ape sort of like anthology? Like they had a really cool theme song too. But obviously, like the Spider-Man one is pretty dope.
I'm surprised you didn't say Transformers.
I didn't watch that on Saturday, so I guess
what?
Okay.
I
got that on weekdays. Did you guys get that on weekdays?
Yeah, it was an after school thing for me too.
Mix, yeah. I know, but could have been Eddie. We actually talked about Spawn earlier, Mark. Hopefully,
it might not be 280. Maybe 1286. Maybe he's waiting for that right there. It's possible.
So that's the issue that it was supposed to come out on, and then it was going to be the one. And again, another thing that when we talk about like huge sort of like milestones in my career, like Todd took one of my like thumbnails and he blew it up and he inked over it, and then he he solicited the cover in previews, and that was like already like Todd inked over one of my pieces. That was like crazy to think about, and then he teased me by putting it in previews. And then it never came out. And and everyone was like, what the heck? But I actually found it. It's in a trade paperback. It's the one with like the Matina cover, and it's like this bloody Spawn. I know that doesn't, but it's red. It's a red trade paperback. I the name is eluding me, but I found it the other day on Amazon.
We'll look around for it.
I would suggest go hashtag the Todd father and John here and be like, give us our cover.
Oh, please. That would be amazing.
Yeah, you can do that.
Well, John, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for hanging out with us here for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Again, you are top tier when it comes down to Asian artists in the comic book world. We know you're busy. Do us a favor and tell us, are there any covers that are coming out that you could talk to us about?
I can't talk too much about certain covers. I know that coming up we have the Dallas Fan Expo, and we'll be dropping a few exclusives there that are going to be pretty dope. Coming up for San Diego, we're going to be dropping a bunch, as well as a thing I did for Hasbro, which is going to be one of their exclusives, which is going to be really awesome. And I'm going to be doing a panel there with Hasbro and all stuff too. And yeah, that's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg of stuff that's coming out.
Is that another G.I. Joe figure?
I can't say.
NDA face. NDA face right there. John, let everyone know how they can find you on the social medias, my friend.
Find me at John Giang Art on Instagram. Find me if you just also do a search for my name, John Giang, Giang. You'll find me on all the socials, as well as my website, which I hardly ever update, as you guys may know.
Yes.
That's a resounding. You are very bad at updating. I need to find like technology that helps me like just update everything at once. And I think that I find it, and then like things are always broken. Like they don't completely update everything at the same time and perfectly. But yes, so www.orbitalharvest.com. And come see me at the next few cons and everything like that. I'll be at Dallas. I'll be at Denver. Heroes, as we talked about, and San Diego coming up as well.
Can't wait. Anyone, we can't wait. Everyone's waiting for you at Heroes and all the other places, so we can't wait.
I can't wait for you guys.
All right, well,
So.
to everyone in the chat, thank you guys so much for joining and asking all those fantastic questions. Katie, thank you so much for moderating. NammaN, thank you so much for being here. And John, especially to you, thank you so much for joining here tonight, you guys. And of course, you can find all of us on our social medias. And thanks a lot, everyone. We'll talk to you guys
soon. I'm glad I finally made it. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's been fun. Bye, guys. Oh, wait.